Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. During this time, we were caught in the middle of the war with limited access to education, healthcare, and basic necessities like food. I want you to hold that image for a moment. That little girl, because I need you to understand who she was first so you can understand what is possible. Now, 15 years later, I'm standing here in front of you all, proving that it's possible. Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm here today to show you how to use your brain for you and not against you. To go from zero background education, struggling in every aspect of my life, whether it's emotionally, physically, and mentally, to where I am right now, a self-efficient student studying psychology and biology at UFT. Now, before I lead you on to my own story, I would like to take you first. I would like to take you to the world of science. Our genes shapes who we are, shapes how we move throughout life and how we respond to stress. But what if environment can change the expression of those genes? And that was a question researchers at McGill University wanted to ask. They specifically wanted to see if a maternal behavior, like giving care to the offsprings, would change the expression of those genes. And here's what they did. Those researchers took the brain of the offsprings, and then they specifically looked at a brain region called the hippocampus, which is responsible for learning, memory, and stress response. Within the hippocampus, they looked at a specific gene called I still have a hard time saying that, the glucocorticoid receptor gene, the GR gene. And that gene tells the brain when it's time to calm down. They had two different mothers. Stay with me. They had two different mothers, but the same offsprings. Those offsprings had same DNA. So the first thing that they did is they had a mother who showed care toward the offspring. And what researchers found within those offspring is that at the glucocorticoid receptor gene, there was some marks on that gene that suppressed that gene. This allowed the offspring to exhibit a behavior of high anxiety, and they were more reactive. On the other hand, where they had a high mother care, those offsprings, the glucocorticoid receptor gene, were not suppressed. They were active, they were open. And their behavior was similar, where those offspring exhibited a behavior of less anxiety and they were less reactive. And here's where the experiment gets a little bit complicated, so stay with me. What they did here is they took those same offsprings and they said, what if we change the environments of those offsprings, changing the mothers? Would that change the expression of those genes? And here's what they found. They found that the offsprings who previously had a low mother care and was switched to a mother who had high mother care, those offsprings genes that were suppressed are no longer suppressed. Those offsprings who had high anxiety no longer have anxiety. And researchers call this behavioral programming. And the study ended with a sentence that I want you to hold on for the rest of this talk. They said, the epigenetic state of a gene can be established through behavioral programming. And it is potentially reversible. Potentially reversible, meaning that no matter what the environment shaped you, no matter what circumstances or stress have been upon you, your biology is not permanent. The expression of those genes can change. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to imagine on your first day of school, walking into that school excited with new faces, new teachers, new classrooms. Now imagine this. Every single conversation, every single instruction from your teacher, every single joke is in a language that you cannot speak. Not a word, not one. You cannot ask where the bathroom is. You cannot tell your teacher that you're lost. And you cannot respond when someone speaks to you. Open your eyes. That was me when I first arrived here in Canada in 2016. I did not speak the language, and the hardest part of this, the part that still sits heavy with me, is the fact that I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't tell them about the war. I couldn't tell them about my family or my twin or what my family had sacrificed just to get here. I couldn't explain any of that. Not a word, not one. But I had one thing, my phone, in which it had a translation app. That was my only communication tool to the world around me. I remember this with one afternoon where I would come into class and I would sit and I would hold that phone underneath the desk. And as soon as my teacher spoke, I would hit the record button. Just so I can understand what my teacher was saying. I did not want to stay like this. I honestly didn't. I didn't want to be the girl who had a phone just to communicate around her, just to have a conversation with her friends or with the teacher. And I was bullied for that, and I didn't want to stay like that. It seemed like I needed something to change first. I needed something that could reshape how I think, something that can lower my fear down out of everything that I've experienced before. Or should I say, someone. And that someone is present here with us today. Ms. Brooks, would you be able to stand up for a moment, please? Miss Brooks was my teacher. She decided to show up for me every single day after school for 3 years. And what she did was very remarkable. I remember this one afternoon where she was explaining the concept of 2 + 2 and 2 × 2. I didn't get it at first. It took days and weeks, and I still don't get it. And she never once signed, she never once looked at me or in a way that I should be ashamed of, or my confusion was something to be ashamed of. She never did. She was very patient and steady with me along the way. She had this unremarkable belief in me that I will potentially do it. And I will catch up on the information that I have missed before. Later on a random afternoon, I was sitting in that exact same classroom holding that same phone, and it clicked to me. It clicked, what's the difference between these two? And in that moment, that specific moment where my life shifted, and I'm not saying this because I knew the differences was, the results was 4. I'm saying it's that moment that you can, these little small powerful evidences that your brain takes in that shows that you can do it. And after that, I walked in that classroom confident in what I was going to learn, confident that I had the ability to do so. And she was the one. And in that moment, my brain was working for me and not against me. Because all of those stress and all of that fear and all of those negative thoughts that I don't belong here, that I'm not smart enough, was all gone. And that is where my brain was working for me. Before that, it was actually working against me. Those negative thoughts, I would walk in ashamed into that classroom because I thought that I would never be there, that I should never belong there because I don't have the knowledge. I've missed grade 1 through 6 entirely. Not math, not science, not any of that. So now, I want to answer the question that I promised you at the very beginning. How do you actually use your brain for you and not against you? And I'll explain it in 3 different steps. Step number 1, notice which state your brain is in. When you're constantly shutting down or you're overwhelmed, you're panicking, those negative thoughts are on, actually your nervous system or your survival mode is on. And in that moment is where you can actually take a little bit of control once you notice the state that you're in. You can pause and breathe and allow your brain to think clearly. There's a brain region that's called the amygdala. When it's heightened, this allows your survival mode to be turned on. And this can have some impairment in the prefrontal cortex, which is a brain region that's responsible for thinking, planning, and decision-making. Once you can think clearly, then you can grow in a state that allows you to grow, to build, to be built. And you cannot grow in a state of panic, but again, in a state of stillness. Step number 2, change your environment, not only your mindset. Because if you're only changing your mindset, that's only half of the equation. If you don't change the environments, like for example, the offsprings did not change their environment, but once they did, their biology changed. The expression of those genes did. So choose your environment correctly. Choose the right places and the right people to hang out with. Do they keep your survival mode on or do they not? And step number 3, find your Miss Brooks or be the one for someone else. One consistent, present person in your life is enough to change how you think about difficulty. Not a crowd cheering you up from far, but just one single person that can work through the hard work or that could sit with you through the difficult moments. The one that does not flinch when you don't understand something immediately. The one who shows up for you not because they have to, but because they chose to do so. They believe in where you're going. Before I want to end this talk, I want to end with a little bit of an activity. So, with all the energy that you have, I want you to shout that I can do this on the count of 3. Are you ready? Yes? Can I hear that? Yes, I'm ready. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I can do this. Thank you.